Hello, good morning or good evening, everybody. Um, as you might have seen, I have reframed the name or the description for my channel. So it's now rather for, it's not only for men, it's for everybody. And I even mentioned Professor Samvagnin, because I'm really inspired by his ideas. And what I mean by that is the idea that a human being after 25 years cannot be fundamentally changed anymore. This is why self-acceptance is more important and more realistic than to believe in the fantasy that we could fundamentally change. And um, this does not mean that it is not possible to change, but to emphasize on self-acceptance. I believe the education is an extreme factor that when we learn about narcissism and all the pathology that we have encountered when we were in an abusive relationship drastically shifts perception, actually, and this is a change. But this has to be proved in the future. I don't know how much this makes a change in the future. Um, I believe that Samvagnin sometimes has extreme views or extreme ways to express what he means, but this is to make a change in his followers, patients, and so forth. So when he says abandon all hope, he wants to save you from the danger of hope, because hope has a lot of dangers. Hope is a little bit like a fantasy defense, because it might suggest you that you are already safe, that your life, hope might suggest that your life will change if you think, feel, or fantasize into the right direction. But your life only changes when you act. And this is why he uses this strong way to communicate this message, so that you not rest, stay relying on fantasy or hope. Yeah, this just to this topic. I also in the future want to ask a question, and that is, what if wrong with empath? And here again, Sam Wagner has an extreme view, and he says the term empath is absolute nonsense. They are all narcissists, something like that. But then what are we? What is this strange, mystical almost connection between one type of people and narcissists and abusers, psychopaths, borderliners? What is this group of targets that are sometimes resilient, strong, empathetic beings, but they are definitely not borderliners, psychopaths, or narcissists. But what are they then? Because they are not the average people, I believe. And this is just a question. What is wrong with empath? And what are empath if they are not empath? Right? If this is nonsense. The spiritual mainstream opinion is that empaths are, I don't have to tell you, what they suggest, what picture they draw, but this has the danger of creating too much hope and too much fantasy, which is narcissistic in itself. Not the hope, but the fantasy. And that when empaths wake up and go through abuse, they are empowered and now they are sigma or theta empath, and they can see through the narcissist, and narcissists are afraid of them, and so on and so on. I don't want to, I want to find out what is the real truth behind this. Um, and the only thing that I can say right now is that I can speak about myself, and where I come from is I was a person that was going naively and full of optimism and full of hope, maybe full of fantasy, into the world, and this worked to a certain degree, but it has disadvantages as well. It has parts of the archetype of the puer eternus, if I'm saying it right, the eternal child, which has light sides and dark sides, a shadow side and a very positive side, both, like every archetype has. It carries immaturity, it carries the sign of unfinished parenting. A person that did not go through the initiation rites that other tribal societies would have used to prepare a person for what is called reality, and so on. So it's living in this state of paradise. It also means to understand other people based on oneself. But this is normal. The problem is that oneself is coming from an unrealistic perspective. So when you think everybody is good, everybody wants the best for everybody. If I do good, if I follow the concept, the absolute concept of doing the right, of doing good, um, overly relying on intuition, this can lead to terrible outcomes. And this is what we stylize, what we idealize into the picture of an empath. And maybe it's possible that when a person like that learns and goes through a certain process of further learning, self parenting, individuating, and so on, becomes a even more resilient, um, functional personality that can live in society as an important, needful part. That it's possible that this is true, but I want to paint a different picture than the mainstream spiritual picture of the empath. Maybe even get rid of that term. It's really hard, to pinpoint who am I, who are we, because it's easy to rather easy to describe the abusers. You can say, all right, this pattern exactly resembles a sociopath with sadistic tendencies. This pattern is either a borderliner or a covert narcissist with sadistic tendencies and part-time schizophrenia or psychosis, whatever. But to understand oneself, we have all a blind spot to understand ourselves. And yeah, I want to find out things. Please, if you have a respectful addition to this topic, feel free to tell me. And I just had to get this small video out to tell you how my channel is evolving. The description, I have changed the description a little bit, that I believe Sam Vaknin is a very inspirational person, not only about the psychological insights that are his main bread and butter about narcissism and psychopathy, but also above this, he has very provocative sometimes and interesting thoughts, I believe. But I don't agree with everything he says. Sometimes it's too extreme, in my opinion. Um, yeah, and I also want to figure out what is the truth behind empath. What is wrong with empath? What is that spectrum of people that is magically drawn to narcissistic, psychopathic, borderline abuse? And I want to distinguish these people from borderline narcissists and psychopaths. So um, there's definitely a strong attraction between these as well. So a covert narcissist and an overt narcissist, or an overt narcissistic sociopath and a borderline, are perfect together. They work perfect together in a very toxic and unstable cocktail, of course. But I want to find what is this what is this target? What is this target that is not that the same? What is that? What is that empath? What is that?